In the early Soviet period, authorities promoted sedentarization, which is settling nomadic herders, and the collectivization, which is merging farms, as engines of social modernization. Bolshevik leaders claimed these policies will transform backward rural economies into a modern Soviet system. However, the campaign caused a massive disruption of traditional nomadic lifestyle. For example, the 1913 to 1933 Kazakh famine, directly linked to forced collectivization and of livestock seizures, killed roughly a quarter to one-third of the Kazakh people and triggered the emigration of several hundred thousand survivors and the rapid and the irreversible decline of the nomadic way of life. This debate, modernization leap versus cultural dismantling, is the focus of this project. We will examine Soviet goals, the human toll, and the long-term outcomes of sedentarization and collectivization with historical evidence.
Soviet leaders framed collectivization and sedentarization as progressive modernization. They argued that small independent farming was scattered and backward, and had to be replaced by large mechanized collective farms. Stalin proclaimed the socialist solution was to produce collective farms and stage farms, employing machinery and scientific methods of farming, rather than allowing capitalism in agriculture. In other words, Soviet policy aimed to bring modern technology and planning to the countryside. Historian Sarah Cameron explained that collectivization.
Moscow hoped both to modernize agriculture, making Soviet agriculture more productive and efficient, and to break apart existing social structures.
This language of modernization was also applied to nomadic peoples. Kazakh elites like Stalin and Stalin's party chief Philip Kalashkin openly promoted full collectivization on the basis of sedentarization, tying the 5-year plan's success to settling millions of nomads. Of official rhetoric, nomads was labeled backward and incompatible with social leaders sought to create a modern Soviet nation by eliminating such backward practices. By these goals, sedentarization and collectivization were cast as the necessary steps towards a modern, uniform Soviet.
Human impact of main repressions control loss. In practice, forced collectivization and sedentarization resulted in several human losses. In Kazakhstan, the opposite rate remained and the social collapse and estimated 1/3 of the Kazakh population. They died between 1930 and 1933, and the nomadic way of the life experienced a rapid and irreversible breakdown. In some regions, up to 90% of livestock perished. According to Hans Kreutzmann, the sheep population fell to less than 1/5 of its 1928 level by the mid-1930s. State recursions were harsh in 1931, up to 68.5% of all livestock was seized, and grain quotas left families with almost nothing. Contemporary Kazakh officials warned of disaster. Charles Schultz, in his 1932 letters to Stalin, reported mass starvation and urged a halt to excessive recruitment. The letter of 1932 likewise criticized the forced pace of collectivization and pleaded for policy change to prevent further peace. Both appeals were ignored. The result of mass deaths and flight by 1931, over 2.3 million Kazakhs had left their homes, 1.7 million internally, 200,000 across the borders. The nomadic pastoral system collapsed. Anti-collectivization uprisings were suppressed, and many local leaders were repressed. Despite Soviet claims of modernization, the outcome was famine, violence, and the destruction of traditional nomadic life.
After many years, life in Kazakhstan changed a lot. The people stopped moving with their animals and started living in villages and the towns. The Soviet government built roads, schools, and factories. Many people learned to read and got better health care, but these changes also caused big problems. Many animals died and the people lost their old nomadic way of life. The land and nature were damaged. it took about 25-30 years for animal numbers to grow again. Most Kazakh people stayed in one place because they no longer had enough animals to travel. So the result was mixed life became more modern, but the old traditions and culture were lost forever.
Sedentarization and collectivization were presented by Soviet authorities as a leap toward modernization, but in practice, they inflicted a great human and cultural toll. The evidence shows that these policies did bring state control, mechanized farming, and some infrastructure to Central Asia, fulfilling parts of the modernization agenda. However, they came at the cost of massive famine, repression, and the near eradication of traditional nomadic life. In the Kazakh case, the modernization was achieved largely by dismantling the older way of life. Millions died or were uprooted, and many agricultural practices disappeared. In conclusion, sedentarization and collectivization had a dual legacy. They advanced Soviet economic goals, but only by ruthlessly dismantling the social and the survival systems of nomadic people.